Annyeong, it's Mikey here. Guys, I apologize that it took so long, but finally I am doing a top 5 creamy switches video. Now, these will be all the switches that we're going to be going over today. And it's a total of, I don't know if you guys saw it in the beginning, the B-roll, what they are, but it's a total of 7 switches. I know it's not technically 5, but the reason being is there's 5, there's one honorable mention, and there's going to be one alternative for a different switch. So that's the reason why it's a total of 7. I will have missed some, so of course, leave in the comments below what creamy switch did I miss that I should try that you think is actually better. Creamy Thoki is always a thin line. It comes down to personal preference, so this is again just my opinion of my favorite top 5 creamy. So let's get straight into it and hope you guys like, subscribe, and enjoy the video. Now before we get into the top 5 creamy switches and which ones they are, I need to go over with you guys what is a creamy switch to me. It's going to be a very small difference, guys, a very thin line between Thoki and creamy. It's really difficult to say, but the last time I did a top 5 Thoki video, my number 1 switch was the Vertex V1. Let me give you guys a small sound test. Now as you can hear, even for a Thoki switch, it has a little bit of a clunk to it. Like, I feel like the best way to explain Thoki switch to me is one that has a clack. Like, it has a bam, and like sound doesn't fully connect together, and it's going to be a little bit louder. The creamy switch, which I'm going to grab here, and of course you guys still don't know what the ordering is. Let me give you a quick sound test. So to me, a creamy switch is one that just has a quieter, deep sound profile that just has a little bit of butteriness to it. It's such a hard thing to explain, but when you're doing typing with a creamy switch, you get this smooth sound that comes together, and you're going to hear that throughout this whole sound test. And again, this is all about personal preference. Everybody's idea of a creamy switch, Thoki switch is going to be different, but for me, creamy is specifically that. And I think a lot of people choose marbly switches as well as a creamy switch. I'm actually putting that in a completely separate category, so I hope you guys understand that for this video, it might not be for you, but for me personally, this is what's going to be my top 5 creamy switches. So let's get right into it. Switch, and it's using the housing UPEA stem and a Witchy Studio spring. The reason I brought this in is because I wanted to give you guys a little bit of different customization of what you could do. Now, number 4 on this list, guys, is going to be the Everglide Aqua King. This one, I think, is a very on the line switch, which is number 4, is because it's kind of Thoki, but it's also creamy. you could choose either way with this one, but I think it's good. Number 3 is going to be the Gateron Everfree Curry. Now, number 3 actually has 2 switches, as I mentioned earlier. I think this one and the other one are very similar switches to each other, but this one is very creamy, and even stock comes really well done. Feels really, really smooth and good. Now, the alternative for the number 3 spot is the Gateron Milky Yellow Pro. I think this one is actually so similar to the Curry switch. It really becomes down to your preference in terms of what kind of switch color you'd like. They both feel very similar and sound incredibly similar. Number 2 on this list, guys, is the Gateron Ink Black V2. Now, for people that like their RGB, this won't be one for you, but I think this is really, really creamy. It feels so good. This is going to be the honorable mention, which is the Wuche Studio Morandi switch. Reason being, I don't personally think this is that creamy, as well as there is a little bit of controversy in terms of the stem wobble. And when you press down on the switch, it is not that great. That's why it's only an honorable mention on this list. Now we have to get ourselves to the number one on this list, and this is a brand new switch that I got recently from Acco, which is Rosewood. And these guys is so amazing. You must have checked out my Monsgeek video. This switch, guys, is the best. So here I'm going to show you guys the stem wobble of each switch, as well as the backlighting, especially for those that think that RGB is important. The switch I feel like has a little bit of stem wobble. It's not too bad, and it feels incredibly smooth. Reason why it's number 5 is just because it is a customized switch and you're going to have to build it by yourself. Moving on to the Curry switch. This one, guys, has very little stem wobble actually, vertically and horizontally, and the backlighting is actually really nice. You do get a lot of backlighting on this switch. This one is number 3 because of the little stem wobble and because it's so smooth. And of course we can't forget about the alternative number 3, the Gateron Milky Yellow Pro. I find that this one has better backlighting actually than the Curry switch. It's just because there's a little bit less color change from the switch. But it is so similar to the Curry switch. It's very smooth and stock comes really well too. Now we can move on to the Everglide Aqua King. This one has no stem wobble, but the switch doesn't sit 100% in there. As you can see, it does shake a little bit. I think the switch is probably the smoothest so far, but the reason it's not on a higher number on this list is because it is more thockier, but it's also creamy. I do like the switch, but at the same time, I don't fully like it, which is why it's not my favorite switch number 1. Now we move on to the Ink Black V2, and this one I would say is a little bit different in the fact that everyone has their own opinion of it. Some people really like it, and some people don't like it at all. The backlighting is horrible on the switch, but you do get some. I really do like it in the fact that it does have a nice sound to it. It's very, very quiet. But the thing is though, some people think that it's scratchy or the sound is a little bit weird. I personally do like it, which is why it's number 2. we move on to the number one on this list, guys. Aqua Rosewood. Very, very little stemmable, almost none. Feels so smooth and sounds so good. Like, I love these switches. I'm just really shocked at how much Aqua put work into building these switches and making something so good. And it's even good for gaming because it's quick actuation. Now, one drawback is the RGB can become red if you use white light, so be careful. And I just wanted to show you guys the honorable mention Witchy Studio Morandi switches. See, when we're doing this stem mobile test, it doesn't seem that bad. You know where it gets really bad is when you press it all the way in, it really shakes badly. Like, it's constantly moving around in there. And if you're a person that likes to hold down and you're playing a video game or something where you need to hold it down, you're gonna notice it. This is why this is only an honorable mention and not on the full top 5 list. Sorry again, guys, that it took so long for me to make this top 5 creamy switches video. I've just been constantly booked up with so many keyboards that it's been difficult. So that's why I'm trying to take some time out of the regular schedule of my posting to do this video. Now, this, guys, as you saw on my further in review, is my number 1 switch. It's the Aqua Rosewood switch. The reason being is just that this switch, guys, is so smooth, it's very quiet, and it sounds so deep and creamy. And of course, this is on my MCHOSE GX87. On my Zoom 75, it's actually in between creamy and thocky. In the M1V3, it's again a little bit more creamy than thocky. Now, the line between thocky and creamy is really thin. That's why it's all about personal preference. So I want you guys to comment down below. I mean, I did miss the KTT King. It just didn't fit my list. And I know another one that I brought out was this one, which is the MM switches from Witchy Studio. And it's just because I wanted to give you guys a little bit of something different. It's something a little bit more interesting about this hobby where you can actually kind of build it yourself and see what materials work for you. So please like and subscribe and check out the video of the MCHOSE if you're interested in that keyboard, and come check out the other videos that I have. And please leave a comment below if I missed a switch that you think I should try, and I'll keep trying to do more of these kind of top 5s and more reviews. So I'll see you guys next time.